What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of U4 Solo Leveling. This is season 2. This is episode 7, I think. Good. Yeah, with me
Seven,
as
yeah.
always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. There I have a lot to talk about this episode in particular, and what I feel about how the finale of the season is gonna play out. Um, so there, of course, like I noticed there are at least a couple changes I've noticed from the manhwa material, which I'll get to in a bit. So so the episode starts off in which there was supposedly a press conference for this one guy named Lee Min Sung, who's apparently trying to reassess himself into a hunter. Um, but of course, he's only doing this to avoid any of the scandals that apparently what happened prior to this. Um, but the what they cut out from the manhwa in this one is Lee Min Sung is reassessing himself to be a hunter just so he can avoid like a mandatory a military draft in his country. So they, for whatever reason, they cut that part out. But this character, he's a really minor character, and he rarely shows up in major scenes in the manhwa. So eventually, Jinhu arrives for his reassessment, and eventually he showcases how powerful he is. And of course, Baek Yoon-ho and Choi Jong-in um, noticed like how much more powerful he was back when they first saw him. Um, so eventually, like Jinu officially gets his license to be an S rank. Uh, but not before like the press catches on to this, and everyone, including his friends and family members, see that he's officially an S rank.
Yeah, so it really feels like it was almost like sort of delaying the inevitable when he was like trying to, I guess, avoid getting officially involved with the Hunters Association because, I guess in a way he is now, and everybody knows like who he is and what rank he is.
Yeah, and pretty much everyone wants to get to know Jinu now. Well, for Baek Yoon-ho, who's the head of the White Tiger Guild, notices that he's a lot more powerful than back when he saw him after the Red Gate incident. That that one moment where Jinu he apparently just like in a way does a flash step type of maneuver in which he gets away from the press, and Beck it takes Beck by surprise, saying like he didn't anticipate like or didn't see how fast he was moving.
Yeah, I mean they point out like early in an earlier episode, I think it was Choi. He says like he wouldn't be able to do some of some of the stuff that we know that Jinwoo can already do. So in a way, I guess you
Yeah,
can take that to mean like he's already more powerful than Choi.
yeah, and Beck like is literally the first character who catches on that Jinu gets more powerful over time, rather than just like just being a simple
So
reawakening or
I don't
something
know if
like
they
that.
really go that much in detail about it. So like, do some of the hunters did they just kind of stay at the same rank or the same level, whereas like Jinwoo he can just keep leveling up or something, or just keep getting stronger? Um,
Every other hunter that has a reawakening, or every other hunter that has an awakening, just stays
hmm.
that rank. They can't, despite the fact like no matter how hard they train, no matter how what they do, they can't go up in
I
rank.
assume it has something to
When
do
if
with the
like
system.
Yeah, whatever it is, like however it works, but um, whatever happened with Genu during that double dungeon incident, he's the only hunter who can level up. So, and even like a Beck, you know, even notices this, like I said before. Um, so later on in the episode, we catch up with Jinho talking to his father, that he talked to Jinu about trying to recruit him into their family company's guild, but of course Jinu turns him down, saying, "Well, like it doesn't sound like a bad idea to him, but as of right now, like he's not ready to start something up this soon because he has to do something first, particularly like that." going back to the demon dungeon that he needs to find the final ingredient for his mother's condition. So um so yeah, so Gino like no, not Gino. Bro,
Well,
I mixed
Jinwoo, like
I mixed the names.
he basically like it. He goes to like what is it like not an antique store but like a place where they buy and sell gear
Uh
like hunters.
yeah, yeah, he notices how much more expensive they are. And what one of the I think one of the guys that works there uh, jokingly says like, if you can break this glass, then you can get all this stuff for free. So like Gino like literally tries to break the glass, but of course, but not before the guy stops him from doing so. Um, but he like Gino notices that um, some of the stuff that he currently owns, uh, he can potentially get back more than how much he originally purchased them from. uh, I mean, in reality, it's like he has this like his system currency in which he can buy stuff, through his own system. But of course, like the items that he can sell or buy are priced at a much higher rate than how much he usually got them from.
Yeah, yeah, because he tries to have I think one of the daggers that I guess he bought from the system. He tries to have that appraised, and like they tell him I guess the price he was thinking it would be was maybe like lower than what he thought he could sell it for, um, or was it?
No, I think he said like his dagger is 10 times more than how much he usually
Yeah,
purchased it when he was using the system, which took Genu by surprise. But mainly he's there because he needs gear to, I guess, to withstand like the upper levels of the demon dungeon, because he says like the upper levels get hotter and more hazardous the further you go. So he needs like some kind of special cloak in order to I guess to reduce or avoid that kind of damage.
yeah, which of course he does end up acquiring anyway. And also,
Yeah.
yeah, going back to Jinho, like he ends up eventually like going over to Jinwoo's apartment to try to I guess to what was it to tell him like what happened with his father or the guild thing.
Okay. So I mentioned this before we started the recording that there's a big change between this one
Yeah,
and the manhwa. Um, so in this episode, um, with after Ginu turned down Ginu's offer to join the company guild, Gino decides to to go off on his own uh and then join Ginu to create their own independent guild. But in the manhwa, what happens after Jinho failed to get Ginu to join the company guild? His father kicks him out of the house, and then Jinho goes to Jinu's apartment to basically just asking him if he can crash in his place. But in a comedic moment, Jinu like shuts the door on him. Um, but of course, in the anime, the opposite happens, in which Jinu you know actually uses Jinho's arrival to convince Gina that that they're going off on a job together. In reality, of course, Jinu is going back to the demon gate.
yeah. Also, there are some scenes in this episode that hint at well, we don't know what it is, what this thing is yet, but it's I will say I know what it what it is, and it's basically hinting at the next I guess major arc in the series, which is called the Jeju Island arc. So we see occasionally this like giant ant creature flying around, and then at one point in the episode it lands and like cuts off a group of hunters. I don't know if they say exactly where it is, but uh,
Yeah, they didn't really say, but um, the anime doesn't really specifically state this, but if people who read the manhwa, it says that the flying ant appears in Japan. but they don't really say this like in this episode because it's really ambiguous because a lot of the characters speak in Japanese and such
Mhm.
and such. So but yeah, it's that this scene is like the first hint of like of what's going to happen with the upcoming arc, particularly with Jeju. Now, in terms of Jeju, before the season started, I did not believe that they were going to be able to adapt the Jeju arc based on how much material they have to cover. Because uh, in season one, they covered at least the first 3 volumes of the manhwa. Um, the Jeju Island arc goes up to volume 7 or 8.
I
But at the rate this season is going, it's a lot. It's going so much faster than I thought it was going
Yeah.
to be. So, and not to mention the fact that season 2 has 13 episodes, and compared to season 1's 12 episodes. So it leads me to, and plus, like the season's barely halfway through, and like I've had to go back to the reading the manhwa and looking like how far they are at this point of the story. If they like based on like how much material we have to go through with the rest of the Demon Gate arc, the Jeju arc is next after this arc.
Well, the reason I was more inclined to believe that they were going to try to adapt maybe at least certain parts of the arc in season 2, and the reason for that being that as far back as season 1, and I don't know if this is like in the manhwa or this is anime original content, but as far back as season 1, they were teasing the Jeju stuff. So I'm not really surprised if they will try to attempt that, or maybe they're going to try to skip over certain things in the current arc just to try to get to the Jeju arc faster.
Yeah, it just seems to me that that it is likely going to be a reality that we will get to see the Jeju Island arc. And what's funny is like I mentioned this a few weeks ago when I talked with with Alex Lee who voices Jinu in the English dub. Neither of us even believed that that they would be adapting the Jeju Island arc based on how much material was adapted. Back when we when how much back when we saw the first couple episodes at the time. But with how fast they went through with certain parts and how much they cut out, it like I said, it's looking very likely that we will get to see Jeju by the end of the season.
Yeah, well, I think another reason too is just because it's probably maybe I don't know, maybe the most well-known arc from the series, and that might be like why they're trying to get to it so quick.
Yeah, plus it's probably a well-kept secret considering that the opening, the anime's opening doesn't showcase any scenes from the Jeju Island arc. It's only showcasing going as far to the end of the Demon Gate arc, which Jinu is currently at. But yeah, it's. I mean, we'll have to see. But it's like with the amount of the number of episodes we have and the amount of content that they're adapting at this pace, it's very likely. But yeah, as of right now, Jinu is actually no. Before this, is that we get to see Jinho's father like talking about about what Jinho is going to end up doing. Now he's looking to work with Jinu. He suddenly collapses from this mysterious illness, which it turns out it ends up being the same affliction that's affecting Jinu's mother, which is like what was it, the eternal sleep disease.
I wonder if there's gonna we know that Jinwoo is looking for something in that dungeon to cure his mother. I wonder if there's going to be like some kind of point to where like he's gonna have to make some kind of decision to like maybe help Jinho or help his mother or something like, or it's gonna like result in something, I don't know, something like that. Where
yeah, the timing of like of how this happens is really weird because now I mean like now that Jino and Jinu are both friends, it's like it's gonna put him in a crossroads of like deciding like whether or not Jinu wants to cure his mother, who's been like asleep with this disease for years now, in comparison to Jino's dad, who's literally just going into near this final stages into being into this
Yeah.
disease. So we'll have to see where this goes from here. But yeah, so back at the dungeon, Genu like is able to progress. I think he says he's progressed up to the 80th floor, which is a lot slower. Which how he initially progressed the first 75 floors earlier on in the season. But most of the time, he's just sending his shadow army to fight the S rank dungeon beasts like off on their own, mainly as for recon purposes. But eventually, like they each and every one of his shadows gets taken out by this mysterious force, which turns out to be like four knights similar to Icarus, which eventually three of them get like easily taken down by Genu by the end of this episode, and only one of them is left alive, just literally just shaking in fear at the sight of Genu.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know who this character probably is, but I'm not too sure. But I'm assuming I'm probably right. But yeah, because I've already kind of been spoiled as to some characters that show up, I guess, in this current arc and maybe a little bit later. But yeah, I think I know who it probably is. But yeah, I thought it was overall though, like, this is a pretty decent episode. I think it's interesting that they're really trying to get to the Jeju arc, it seems, or they're really trying to, like, I guess, set it up. I guess maybe this early on, but I guess like you said, is the same way in the manhwa. But it's just interesting though, like they did make some, I guess, sacrifice some parts of this current arc just to, it seems, to get to the Jeju stuff faster. So I kind of hope it's worth it. Like, I mean, if the Jeju arc is as good as it is, if they're trying to get to it so quick. But yeah, I thought it was overall though, like,
I mean,
decent episode. I'm really more interested, honestly, in like what's going to happen in the next episode, because if this character that Jinwoo is confronting now is the character I think it is, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the continuation of the next episode of what Genu is gonna do in the Demon Dungeon arc. Especially after this, then we're immediately gonna go straight into the Jeju arc soon after this. But how much they're gonna be adapting is another question, because many people, I don't know, it's dividing a lot of people. Because the Jeju stuff is peak, is the peak storyline of the series, and then soon afterwards it immediately gets into like the whole system and Monarch stuff soon afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that'll be interesting too, because there's a lot of questions I have about the system, and it feels like none of them have really been addressed, so I'm kind of interested in that. But yeah, guys, so that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.